rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the first item on our agenda is 2018-19 budget. Do you want to start that without Carl here? Do you want to move to Fund
No,
73?
I think you need to see that in order to understand it, so wait till he comes down with those copies. But let me talk to you about Fund 73. Fund 73 allows you the ability to set aside funds to be used for post-employment benefit. And currently we have 2 staff members who are paying insurance for it right now. Next year we will also have 2, and in the near future we'll have additional ones as people retire. And where school districts end up in trouble is if a wave of folks retire and have a post-employment benefit coming and you didn't save up any money for that expense, then you take it out of your general fund and it's a taxing on your general fund then. So you're better off when times are decent like we have right now to set some aside in Fund 73. You don't want to set too much in there because that's the only purpose it can serve is the post-retirement. So you want to have some in there, but you don't want to have all your money, all your eggs in one basket, but you got to put some eggs in that basket. We've been very fortunate out here. Our fund balance is decent and we're all right, but it would be beneficial to put some money in that. That would be a move that Carl and I would like to do in June when we are getting more finalized. And we're thinking like $100,000, not a huge amount. Currently in the employee handbook, retiree teacher receives $14,500 maximum for insurance for up to 3 years. And so if we could set aside some of that money, and then you could also invest that in CDs, just like we do with our bond money, and that would help us out that way as well. But we have some designated funds and we wouldn't get caught short in the long run. So right now, while things are healthy, it'd be wise for us to do that. So I'll bring that forward at a future board meeting, but I just want to let you know that in June, that's something that Carl and I have bounced around that idea and that concept to make sure. And that's what the purpose of Fund 73. So I know a couple of districts that paid their teachers less when they were working and then had them cash out days at the end when they retired 25 years later. It was then at a higher rate, and when Act 10 hit, a plethora of them took advantage of that because they thought they might lose that without a contract, and it cost the district hundreds of thousands of dollars because they had to waive the teachers law one time. So since we only have a couple teachers that are on the plan right now, we have a couple more that will be in the near future. I'd like to set aside some money this time for that. So, but I would do that in June when we're getting more wrapping up the books, but I want you guys to be aware of that.
And till now, we've just started it out of the general fund.
Yes, when Carl gets down here, you'll see.
Okay.
Do we have anything in Fund 73 at this time?
We have nothing.
So we're establishing one.
We're establishing one. Right now it's on, it's just an expense.
How long do they get it? About 4 years?
3 years for a maximum of $14,500 per year. The 4th year, they can apply any sick days they have accumulated towards it. And it's different. That's for the teachers. The support staff just have 3 years of insurance. But it's capped at $14,500, which is really wise for the district because then it's a set dollar amount because you don't know what your insurance cost would be in.
And support staff is at 14.5 as well? The same
Right, 14.5, but it's 3 years. The 4th year they can't. Right, and they have to be age 62, so that gets them to age 65. So that's a good thing for them. So
This is I support it, but I'm just curious that, you calculated that. Now, I'm wondering if that's high enough. If we got 2 coming, because right now that's 2.29 people for 3 years.
right, but we got a couple coming off the books
Okay.
as well. So
If you guys have done the math, there's something driving that number.
right, yeah. We know
That's what you said.
we know one's coming on, one's coming off, and then we think one's coming on in a couple of years, and maybe one more year after that. So we've kind of calculated out. And if we needed to, we could always transfer more in the future in there, but you're better off not having.
Oh, I guess you can always add to it.
You can always add to it, but so that's why we're gonna go conservative with 100,000 is what we think
So
at this point.
once you put it in, you can't take it out, back out?
You can only use it for the post,
that,
that's the
so-
purpose you use it for, right? But then you don't get shorthanded later on.
Right.
Right, yeah.
And how long do these employees need to be an employee of the district in order to be eligible for that benefit? You know, they have to be 62 before they can collect it, but
Teachers need to be employed 20 years and reach the age of 57
with the district, okay.
with the district. And support staff.
Oh,
It's
so
20
you
years
put
with
the plan in, right?
62.
Okay,
Right, so
You
it's
gotta-
both,
you
it's
gotta
20 years for
20.
everybody, but 57 and 62.
okay, thank you.
So that's,
Okay.
that's Fund 73.
Did you want to go to Fund 76 while we wait for him?
Fund 46, sure.
At 46?
Yeah, that's great. We do have a Fund 46. We have $1,000 in it, and that was a smart amount to put in. Because you cannot access that money for the first 5 years it's in there. Yeah, actually, once you open it up, then you can, it starts the clock for the 5 years. So even if we put in more in the future, then we can access it. And I checked with our auditor, and we can first have access to the money June 4th, 2020. So that's not too far away.
Next year?
Yeah, that comes up pretty quick.
And we could have access to all of it, actually.
All of it, yeah, even though we only put $1,000 in 4 years ago,
Right.
when June 4th hits, you can have access to all of it.
If we put 50,000 in, we could have access to 51,000.
Because you established the fund.
Because you establish a fund, and it's for the 10-year maintenance plan, and the 10-year maintenance plan, you're allowed to adjust at any time, because you never know what project may pop up, or where you might save on something else or whatnot. So now that we have the building direction, this is a great thing. Carl and I are gonna look at this a little tighter. And we also have to make sure that we have plenty of funds to go through the whole school year, because when you receive your property tax, our two biggest payments have to get you through the short-term parts of the year too, like June and November are our lowest points. But usually we have about $3 million in the bank at that time. So Carl and I are thinking of doing something in June, and we tell you at the June board meeting, and we're thinking between $500,000 and $1 million, because our fund balance is healthy, and that would go then towards the building project, or not the building project, but any maintenance we have around here. And the question I asked the auditor was, if we needed a new bus barn or storage shed of some sort, can you use that for something brand new, or does it have to be maintenance? And the answer is, you can use it for capital projects, so it can be new or existing maintenance projects you have. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So our recommendation come June will be somewhere, and we're a little conservative on that as well. But the good thing is, we have access right to it in June of 2020, and that would allow us to put that in some safe CDs and earn some interest too as well.
And again,
So,
once it goes into that fund, it can only be used for.
for anything on your 10-year maintenance plan, but you can adjust that at any time, and we still, with the 91 and 96, 98, and 65 sections of the building, have plenty of building
Yeah.
projects, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just trying to stretch our money even a little farther, so, yeah.
You don't need one of them.
You only got 2 or 3 action items when you're.
You don't need one of them, you got that one.
Oh, I got the one with all my marks, okay.
Yes.
Okay, we discussed 46 and 73,
Okay.
and just the things you and I have discussed, so. And I said we bring them back in June when we have a better ending to the year, better handle on that. Okay. You wanna go back? to
Go
the-
back to the 18-19 budget?
Sure. And Carl, chime in whenever you would like. We'll start with the revenue. You guys have revenue?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
That is a small.
Which one?
Revenue is at
revenue summary report?
Yes, revenue summary report. And this is through March 31st, so that is 3/4 of the school year. For the May board meeting, you'll get the April update. So when, as you're thinking about this, think we're 3/4 of the way through the school year. Some of our revenue doesn't come in though until after July 1, but it still counts on this year's books. The largest amount
Right.
is the open enrollment receipts, and we will not have that, till August, is it?
What's that?
Open enrollment.
Open enrollment?
Open enrollment, that will get, usually in July, that comes through after the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah,
There's also special ed claims that have to be completed yet, in the process of doing those. So there's money out there yet, a fair amount, plus we also have the rest of the tax levy receipts that we won't get those until August, because they don't have to be paid till the end of July. So 20th of July is when they're due.
20th of August.
Oh, that's
when you'll get your money.
Get the money, right.
okay. And see, that's the funny part, because our year ends June 30th, but we won't get it till August 20th, so that's why you have to have a healthy fund balance to get through those times of years when you don't have the money that's coming to you. Not only paycheck to paycheck, so. What are the numbers important, Carl? Would it be the per pupil adjustment aid, $256,500? That hasn't been, we haven't received any of that yet either.
A lot of those stuff coming from DPI and that don't come until the end of this year, because they haven't figured out all of the, it goes on a percentage and it goes by how many schools and all that stuff, so they haven't done all of their figuring yet.
Right,
Figured
it's
out yet.
per pupil
Per pupil,
across the state,
right.
how many pupils we have,
And it's
exactly.
a pool of money, and then they gotta figure out how much is going to each school for each student.
And on page 2, the first item for, it's about after the general fund, it's 9-27-800, operating transfer in. Fund 27 is special ed. We're expecting to transfer $900,000 from our general fund into our special ed fund. Special ed has to be in the black or even at the end of the year.
You have to have a zero balance,
Right, it can't be in the red.
right?
And so we're planning on transferring 900,000, and when we look at the expenses, we think it might be a little less than that.
Right.
So that's good, you always plan on transferring more than you have to, and because otherwise you come up short.
And this is where, with the state budget now, we need to lobby for that increase in special ed funding, so we don't have to take all this money out of the general fund to put in special ed fund.
Exactly, because a district like ours who receives very little state aid, if we got more special ed funding, it would help us because we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and this would be a manner in which the state could help all the districts that have special ed students equally. Yes. And then towards the bottom, you'll see Fund 50, operating transfer in. We're planning on transferring $75,000 into Fund 50, which is our food service. The line below it, there's 2 lines for pupils, and that's for the meals and other items they purchase. This is through March 31st, so we have April, May, and part of June for income for meals yet. We estimated that we'd have $76,000 from meal purchases from students. I did some math today, and I think we're gonna be pretty close. I think we're gonna be at like $73,000, so it'll just be a couple $1,000. So that's a pretty accurate estimate there. On the next page, you'll see our adult meals are up $720 already, so that's a good thing. But there will be a transfer there. And then down the bottom, you'll see the property tax with a large number. And that's because of the bonds purchased in and out. We have $20 million of bonds, but it looks larger than that because of the short-term borrowing, or short-term borrowing bonds we did to get to the long-term ones, so. And, any questions on revenue? And And then expenses,
That's the one I got you.
A little thicker.
Yeah.
yeah, expenses are a little thicker.
Oh, gosh, it's two-sided.
Oh, it's gonna get worse because I have to redo the fund or the account numbers and have them separated by schools also.
Is that because of the new accounting system we're getting?
Well, it's because of the reporting with DBI.
Oh,
The DBI wants us to report what we're spending for each school and for the district, and then there's also exceptions. And the way it's coming down the line is your reporting to DPI will be live, means that we put something in our system that gets reported right to DPI. So we don't have to do reports at the end, but you gotta get all your account numbers straight down first. And so we have to have that done before Gene can start putting in POs for next year.
that shouldn't stop you from keeping the baseball team going in the postseason.
No pressure there, Carl.
That's why he's hoping for rain.
Just a little levity.
So the first line you see is permanent full-time, and it's $951,547. That is the salaries for all of the elementary staff. And when you see percentage used, it's at 57.14, and this is through March. That's 3/4 of the way through the school year, but our teachers are paid over 12 months, so June, they're paid for June, July, and August, so there's more payments, so 57% is a good percentage. If we're talking about hourly folks that are just school year, then you'd want it to be about 75%, but it needs to be lower now, like it is, because you got extra months there.
Well, let me kind of will clarify.
Yeah, keep going then.
No, they're paid for 12 months. The payrolls are processed, the July and August payrolls are processed in June. So they go on this year's account or in this year's funds, but they're not actually paid. I don't actually send it to the bank until those paydays. So they're processed early, I hang on to the money, and then on the paydays, they get sent to the bank. So they don't actually get their money until until it's actually due to them, but the payrolls are processed, so it goes on the fiscal year expenses.
Yeah, that's another nice accounting thing, right? And then if you go to page 3, then you'll see about a third of the way down, you see permanent full-time, $950,442. That is the core subject areas for high school curriculum.
High school and middle school.
Right, so your core subject areas.
Right.
So that's where the majority of our money is, and that one is at 59.18, so that's pretty close to 57.14, so it's right on tack. And then everything else falls in line with the FICA, the life insurance, dental, all that, all those items. I'm trying to think, and then it goes by department, and if you look at the departments, I was looking to see who's too high, and we're okay. Almost every department has stayed in line. I'm trying to think, Carl, where's an area that I can point out right now? Since Stephen's here, we'll go to technology on page 9.
Can you remind me what personal services is?
That is, like when we pay an official. It's not part of our regular payroll, but he's providing a service. So if you go to page 13, actually page 12, you're at 162,000 personal services. That is where your officials are done. Somebody or a general staff member works at a sporting event. It's not part of the regular pay, but they're providing personal service to work a game, to take tickets, to run the scoreboard and stuff like that. So that's where that comes in.
Okay, so not picking on any, but under elementary instruction, second grade, the personal services, that's the elementary newspaper, that $900?
Most likely, yes.
No?
And on page 2,
Page 2,
okay, no, okay, because that personal service there, that
Yeah.
900 goes with third grade. And
Oh.
That's the
oh.
summary is on the bottom. You gotta look at the numbers above it. The bold goes with the numbers a set ahead of it, so that's the summary on the bottom.
So in elementary school, what would a personal service, what's an example of
Right,
personal
because like
services?
third, fourth, fifth, they all have them.
But they all work ball games and they're all.
Oh, okay.
And
so
all
that's what
that's
we're
gonna get charged into.
Oh, okay,
That's
I
gonna
see.
get charged into athletics.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think.
I get it.
What
Could
would
be a
be?
speaker coming in, if you contract with
Yeah,
somebody.
if you have a
from
speaker
staff
coming in, or
development.
you have,
Okay.
you know,
The good example there would be the Wax Museum 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
when that was a third grade activity, and those two ladies that,
Okay.
So it's charged to the program is what it's showing, not to the person.
right, but the ones where they're earning it is under, maybe on page 12 then,
yeah, they would go
Any kind of
under.
stipends would be under 12.
and that would be, if you look on page 12, you'll see like the last 3 digits are 602, 603, 605, 606. Those are each sport or activity.
Okay.
So if someone works a softball game, it'll go under their number. If it's basketball, it'll go under their, each one has their own category.
Each service does, not each employee. So like 610
Six,
is.
60, yeah, I don't know what sport that is, I have to look it up, but Carl's got it upstairs, but if he memorized them all, it'd be crazy. Yeah.
Thank you.
If you go back to page 9, look at Stephen's budget. Stephen's budget is towards the bottom, and it has equipment purchase additional, and we've allotted $125,000 there. We went 1-to-1 with the high school, and he still has $78,000 remaining in that budget. He should purchase his Chromebooks for incoming freshmen out of that still. And then the next line, purchase, replace, he had 30,000 and he spent 41. He's okay because he had 78 in the other area. And that was fixing teacher computers, correct?
Yeah, we replaced about half of the staff computers this year. We had to replace a couple smart boards due to damage. Just things that needed updates.
And then, so then if you go to page 10, you'll see the second line, district technology. He spent 75%, which is a good number because he's 3/4 of the way through the school year at this point for that area. So sometimes if it's for bills that are gonna be after July 1, then you could have a less percent spent, but where he's at, he should have that spent, so that's a good thing. Let's see, I keep flipping, I don't know what I think is important. On page 15, you'll see health services. Underneath guidance secretary, health services, we budgeted 2,500, it's up to, and that's huge, 17,362. Those are our 504 kids. They don't qualify as special ed students, and we've had an influx of 504 kids, so next year when we build the budget, we're gonna have to put a little more money in to cover our 504
We're not
students.
allowed to charge them in special ed. A 504 has to be charged in Fund 10, general fund.
It's a, right, because,
They don't have an IEP, do they?
and they're not eligible for the federal reimbursement, right?
Right.
So that's an area we're gonna have to beef up. Trying to think what else is there.
How come the
Sounds like
budget
it's
for
a snowstorm
OT
outside.
and PT, Kyle?
Where's OT and PT?
Why don't we charge, why are those budgets so low?
Because most of that goes under,
Medicaid?
what it goes to special ed.
Okay.
So that way we
So
can,
these are for services to children, to students that are not in special ed.
Right, we have right. If you have OT, PT, you'd more than likely have an IEP, but not all, nothing's 100%.
And our psychological services, those come from Southern Bay psychologists?
yeah, they bill us
Yes.
for Kennedy.
Yes, that's a pretty good deal for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's on a needs basis, which is better than having her here 20% or 40%. She comes up on a needs basis, and so that gives us some flexibility, and we want to keep that deal going. Yeah, we're doing all right on that one.
And where do you track the mental health services grant? Where does that all get tracked?
That is not in here, and we haven't, still trying to figure it out now, because they haven't told us exactly where they wanted to actually be put, because you have the expenses and you have the grant coming in. They haven't exactly told me exactly how we're going to, I mean, I had the numbers to charge it, but where do I put the money coming in? Do I charge it back to what we took out, or how does that work? DPI hasn't told me that yet.
And we're already done with almost our first year.
I know.
Well, and we're hoping that if the grant passes again for 2 years. Yeah. We've received our bills from United Way, and then they'll go to DPI, and then DPI will reimburse us for that. We've received 2 bills so far.
So how do you, just for my own edification here, how do you track that? Like, do you do a separate ledger on that, or how do you?
It all goes in by the different accounts in that. I have to find out exactly what Gina's charged. I have to look and see exactly what we're charging the bills to, and then we have to do a claim with DPI. But they haven't told us when we can do the claims back to DPI to get the money back, because it's one of those.
So you have all that tracked, I think it's not in here, but.
It's
you have
not
that
in
tracked
here, but
thoroughly
it's-
somewhere, that's the kind of, what I was curious in.
It's gonna end up being flow through. We get
Right.
the bills, we send in, yeah, so, yeah.
But they are billing.
Yeah,
We
we've
bill
got
us
2
twice.
bills from them.
We got 2 bills.
We get from
And
United.
Well, that's the problem
Well,
initially.
it's through United Way, and
Right.
they billed us twice, and now it's a matter of sending that,
Getting
claiming that.
DPI to send us the check then.
Right.
Trying to think where else to show you.
If you go to,
Because like when Carl and I look at this, like when I go to page 20 and 21, that's the office of principal, principal secretary, K5, office of the principal, and those numbers should be around 75%. If you see them, they're 69, 60, 35, 47, so we're in good shape in those areas. We're under. But then if you go on page 21, way at the bottom, fiscal, you'll see we spent 98% already, and you say, holy cow, we got some with our quarter of our year to go. That is because if you jump up 2 lines, the district dues and fees, it's negative 64,000. That was the purchase of Skyward. So that's where that one falls.
That's the
because
new
we had
accounting?
one,
That's the new accounting?
that's the accounting system that we're in the process of getting, and we had the option to pay for it half this year and half next year. We decided to just pay for it all at one time and be done with it. So it's all in this fiscal year's, or it's charged all in this fiscal year. But then we will have to budget again next year, which we already have budgeted for the Alio, the maintenance. We'll have to budget the same thing for Skyward.
Right. It was that one-time buying in of
Right.
Skyward. Right.
So, for just a comment, I appreciate the detail you're bringing and fixing us up on the Fund 73 and all that kind of stuff. The other thing is you're diving through this, we don't need to worry about this right now, but in all these different lines and all these different categories, right, you two are pretty knowledgeable on some soft expenses, so that in future years, and hopefully we don't need that, but if we're really tight on budget, you could dive through this and which ones would be a lower priority if we ever had to cut budget. And it's just a knowledge base, I'm just kind of throwing that out because, remember what I said, let's hopefully never get there.
Right.
I don't ever want to
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, if we're getting to the point where we don't have money now, we're gonna be going through this with fine.
Yep, no, I mean, so
Right, no.
we get the definitions where they're at and stuff.
Right.
And yeah, no, it's-
Right, yeah, exactly, and the tougher choice that we make.
Looking at the area of security services, so now that we're going to have,
Page is
yeah,
done.
page 23,
Page 23.
then how are we gonna work in Mr. Hill's spec? That would be.
That would be
under
built in, right, he'll be an employee of the sheriff's department, so we will pay the sheriff's department that $64,000, so we'll build the $64,000 in, and we'll have one less teacher next year, so the salary of that teacher will come out of the first line item, will decrease that teacher's salary, so that's kind of the trade-off there.
But that would be a very good example of a personal service
Right. 'cause-
Contracted service with the sheriff's department.
with the sheriff's department.
So it'll
And
be a personal service under security services, so
security.
right now we're only budgeted for 1,000.
and the money that you see that's been spent there, and that's for personnel who have chaperoned dances. That's what that can charge to. So that's why you see we spent 238 up to that point. Last line on page 22, where you see the 238.54, that's what we spent so far.
And what about Mr. Grandin? Where does he get,
It's his voluntary.
That's not, well, he's paid by the sheriff's department, not by us.
okay,
Right, there's
They
no
don't
expense
charge
with
us
that.
for that.
okay, thank you.
Also on page 23, under maintenance services buildings, there's $155,811.25 left in the budget in that line item. So we spent 22% of that budget, so there's quite a chunk still there. And that's where the 65 gym renovation, the cafeteria, but you have to have the services done to pay them off as well. So we need workers to get in here and get going, so, yeah, and then moving the shed or building a new shed as well. So that money's gonna go quick, but that's okay, we got three things going on that we're gonna get from those funds, but when you see it, just so you know.
You need an invoice.
Yeah, we need,
That doesn't include bleachers as part of that, though, is it?
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah, bleachers, the flooring was $22,000, we signed the PO today to send off for that, the bleachers were 57, no, 58, okay.
58,235.
Yeah, so Rock's done his homework, I'm in contact with them and stuff. On page 20, on page 24, partway down, you'll see fuel for vehicle operations. We have $50,000 budget. So far, we've spent 49.991%, so half the money, we have half left, and we have only a few school months left, so that area we're going to be positive. And then if you go to page 25, you'll see vehicle acquisition, -94. We made 2 bus purchases this year because our buses were out of cycle. We talked about it at the building grounds and security meeting. So we got a second bus, and it's really good we did because the bus that broke down on the way to the track meet last week, Rock got the first estimate for repairs, and they said they could repair it at one level, but then they said if we do that, you can't put kids on it. And
Sort of a useless bus.
well, it's okay because he's got these 2 buses ordered, and if we'd put thousands of dollars into that bus to bring it up to the standard, and then it's the one that's going, one of the 2 that we're getting rid of come June. So we're gonna limp through the rest of the year with the fleet we have. We may end up 2 or 3 nights if we have a bunch of ball games and activities and field trips, we may have to rent a bus to get us through. But that's wiser than spending money on a bus that
So
you're gonna get.
actually, a good thing is that bus that broke was one of the old buses.
Yes, if a bus is gonna break, you want one of your old ones.
Yeah.
So we got a lucky break that
We'll
night.
take that.
Right,
Except we
right.
don't want them in Oconto.
Well, no,
Well, luckily soccer was just down the road, so that.
Oh,
that
gosh.
worked out.
Craziness.
You planned that well, sir.
and the good thing about our property insurance is whenever a bus is towed, we get reimbursed for that towing from our property insurance.
Oh.
And
Your property?
That helps.
And we didn't, Carl, I did not know that 2 years ago. We learned that from M3. Said, do you know you have this benefit? And no, and
Three times already we've
three
used
times we
it.
used it.
They're regretting telling you.
$475 we get back, so
Yeah.
it was nice. They didn't have to tell us that. We had to read the fine print of our agreement to know that, so they told us, so that's pretty honest of them, and it doesn't make your rates go up, so, because they know buses break down, so that's good. Well, like I mentioned before, at page 26, that is where the health insurance expense is listed, that hopefully will move to Fund 73 in the future.
Wow, our telephone expenses are way down. We've only used 29% of telephone under public information.
Did we reduce lines, Rock? What did we do?
We reduced cell phones.
We reduced cell phones, that's what we did, okay. I knew we did something, I couldn't remember that, but yeah. Well, then we get into Fund 27.
Fund 27.
Fund 27, special ed, and that is what it is. Why, Carl, do we think the transfer is going to be less than 900,000? What can we plan out to show?
Well, because
Yes, you tell him. But he, well, because he's done more claims with the federal government.
if you look on page 28 under cross-categorical, okay, and which starts on 27 on the top, the last three numbers, 011, means that it's state and local funds that are being used. 341 means that it's federal funds being used, okay? I've reclassified one of our special ed teachers who, if you have a teacher who's more one-on-one, like Leanne Leonardson, you have to use state and local. If you have a teacher who is more well-rounded with more, you know, still in special ed, but taking a wider range of children, like Callie Asher, you can use those funds because it's not one-on-one and it's not Medicaid reimbursable, okay? So I can use those funds, reclassify them as federal, use them in the claims, in the federal funding claims to get reimbursed, or to get aid dollars back from them. Tricky part of that is every year you have to do what's called a maintenance of effort. And what it is you have to, each year, they take what you spent in special ed minus what you got from aid. You have to spend more, equal to or more, the next year. And there's 4 different tests that you can do. You only have to pass one of them. But you have to spend more of your own dollars or you get penalized. So say you spend $200,000 in special ed of your own money this year, you have to spend $200,000 or more the following year, or you get penalized.
Does your maintenance of effort ever plateau out, Carl, or it's
So
on the
what
rise
you-
every year?
So that's why you try and keep it as close as you can so you don't skyrocket. Now, if you have an extenuating circumstance, like you have a high-cost student and they leave, and that teacher leaves, then you can request a waiver and then it can drop down. But there's not a lot of instances, so if you jack it up real high one year, well, you gotta meet that next year. So you gotta, you know, you gotta play with the numbers in that to keep them down as much as you can.
You have to
without-
fall short. You don't want to fall over the line. You want to stay
Right.
under the line.
Right. So so because we've had the last few years, so many dollars that keeps getting carried forward, it's like, okay, and that differential was getting kind of wide. It's like, okay, we need to bring our federal aid dollars up so we don't jump up so high in our maintenance of effort, so we can keep maintaining that. And it took me 4 conferences to go to, I finally figured out what they're talking about, how you do it, and it's like, okay, now I can understand it, now I know what you're talking about, so. I've reclassified, it hasn't been in here because I just did a journal entry, so I reclassified most of Callie Asher's payroll and her benefits and stuff like that to be 341 instead of 011. So then I can do the claim and get the money back from federal.
So if you turn to page 31, you'll see this 27 special ed, the last item, is at 63.24. The teachers that are full-time, their salaries will be 12 months, of course, but then the aides, they drop off here come June, the end of June. So that's a pretty good number. So we're thinking at 63.24, that transfer 900,000, which we do in June. You may even do it in July after
We gotta wait till the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, yeah, he waits till he gets it done, but
Because I have to-
June 30th is the official day, even if he does it after the 4th of July. But we're thinking with 63.24, the transfer over is gonna be less than $900,000. So that helps
Transferring
cut down.
from Fund 10 to Fund 27 and 10 to 50 is all part of the closing out the year process.
Right. Page 32 is our long-term note and loan for the energy efficiency. So that's $131,944 in and $131,944 out. So that's, and then the page 33, facility acquisition. Those are the bills to date for the building project.
And most of that's gone to Bray.
Yeah, survey was done, soil boring. That's pretty much it so far.
And well, and the fiscal one you see there, that 34,000, that was what the fees that we were charged to get all of the CDs for our investments. It's a one-time fee for all the CDs and everything. That was one-time charge on that, so we won't see that again until we have to do more when we get the other 5 million, if we even need to do that again. I don't know exactly how they're gonna do that.
When you were talking about the, I'm going to go backwards on page 32, when you were talking about the 131,000 because of energy things, should we be looking at some tax benefits with the new facility because it's going to be so much more energy efficient?
We can't do this, this program is no longer going anymore. We got into.
That's not true. It's
Well-
been suspended for 1,001 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Governor Walker suspended the program for 1,001 years. Right. He line item vetoed it or adjusted it, yes.
That would be an interesting question that Ray might know, and I don't came up is,
No.
are there anything with this new construction that might qualify for some benefits? That's a good question.
Yeah, the question about that, focus on energy, Rock's working with them on the lighting for the cafeteria and the gym. And Bray would know about that for the new building portion as well, but
There is an adjustment because of the new building, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. I know that there is an adjustment there.
we'll have to ask the court planning team. Yeah,
Right, yes, sir.
right, but Rock is on it for the 2 projects he is doing. Yeah. And then we go to page 34, Fund 50, the food service. And food item. $50,000 was budgeted for food. So far, $21,160 has been spent, which is 42% of that. So there is some money there, and I can't believe that with only 2 months of school left, that he's gonna spend $28,000. So I think there's gonna be some savings there in that area. So the expense, I'm hoping, is down a little bit, because if you look at the bottom for food service fund, it's at 66.27. Casey Andrews is year-round, all the rest are ending in June. So I think with the food, I think the expense will be a little bit less there. So I'm hoping that between that and the income from the next two months of food, we can have less of a transfer than 75, but we'll see. Anything else, Carl, we should point out in this year's budget?
No, I think I mean, just if you look at the very last page, your overall, everything all together, right now, we're at about 61.22 with most of the, with 3 more months of the teachers' payrolls and that, so I think we'll come in under budget with our expenses for the total year.
I have
Go ahead.
I have a question back to page 14.
14?
No going back.
Okay, all right, okay, 14, okay.
I'm just kidding. It's Wednesday.
Be quiet.
I hope we got the answer. Page 14.
Okay, under gifted and talented.
Yes.
What is that? Because we don't have a gifted and talented program, really. It's 8,400 in personal services, employee travel. Are those DI numbers? Is that where that is?
No, DI would be on,
Am I looking at that right? It's
yeah, I see what you got. I see the GT there. No.
I mean, we've only used 20%.
Well, that would explain the
budgeted.
low burn of it and.
Yeah.
I think
I can
Melissa
look
has
that up,
done
though.
some stuff with it to get it started, but I think she's gonna be ramping that up more. So I think this is kind of some of the things she's getting started, like some of the supplies, personal services that I'm not exactly sure what that would have been for, what bills that would have been. But I think it's kind of what she's in
find
the
that out.
process of getting.
Okay.
All right, we will research that more.
I don't need anything
Great
else.
question
I'm
on
good.
page 14, all right. Okay.
Do you anticipate some more expenditures in that community service fund?
I've got a couple more, I think I've got 2 staff to finish paying for their time, but otherwise that's pretty much done.
What page is that?
Last page.
You're in last page.
Because we haven't spent much there.
Fund 80 is
Yeah.
unique, and you gotta be careful with it. Some districts got in big trouble with it. We probably could justify more than $20,000 worth of expenses in there. Summer school, since all the kids that aren't our students go to that, we could take some expenses in there. All the community ed courses and items like that.
Yeah, but isn't that in there already?
That is, but
And we've only spent 23%?
But you can also, like, maintenance of fields that the public uses in general, you could use some of your maintenance expenses there, but you gotta be careful because some districts went wild with Fund 80.
Well, yeah, no, I'm
Yeah,
not saying,
right,
I don't want to cut it down. I
Yeah.
thought we were spending
He'll-
more of that.
By the end, by June, Carl will use all 20,000 of it.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
he'll use all of it by June, he will.
Yeah. well,
Yes,
that's-
there's more than $20,000 we can spend in that area. Some districts would say $20,000 for a district our size, that's way too low, you should have it greater. We're staying where we're at because I've seen
We've been
districts
in
get
that
trouble.
for years
Oh,
and years
yeah.
and years.
Right. And then there was,
We had the community courses and everything.
well, and then there was a time when they froze the amount, you couldn't raise it at all, increase it at all because people were basically abusing it. They were throwing everything under the sun under it. They would say middle school athletics can go under there because a homeschool kid could join the team, and that wasn't with the intent of it, so, yeah, so we will spend it by June. Carl will have it right there.
Okay.
is that in on the 18-19 budget?
That's where we're at right now, yeah.
Okay, the maintenance and custodial staff thing.
Sure, and Rob, chime in when you want to, but we've had a study done with our facility, and you have papers to distribute on that? Sure. And for the size of our facility is we're short custodial staff. With the projects we have coming up this summer, for example, the bleachers we took out on the north side of the school, by Rock's staff taking those out, that saved us $5,000 of expense that if someone else would have, that an outside company would have taken off. We gotta take them out of the south side as well. And like the ceiling tiles in the cafeteria, we want to do in-house rather than hiring someone to do that. And just overall, taking care of the facility that we do have. We have one half-time custodian that we're looking to move to full-time. You want to explain what you have here?
Yeah, actually, I just want to explain the rationale that we're using to develop or to justify moving that custodian from half to full-time. There's a number of entities, or a number of places out there that actually do studies on custodial staffing. Arizona State University does one. The Association of Physical Plant Administrators does one. This one that you see here is probably the one that I like the best. It's the Michigan School Business Officials, because basically they compare schools all across their state, K through 12 schools, and they do it for the upper Midwest. The Association of Physical Plant basically takes everybody across the country, and there's some variability there that really is not the best. But within both studies, they come up with pretty much the same conclusion. So in any case, if you read this, or look at this on the first page, in the middle you'll see a number of bullet points there, and basically they use this study in Michigan to obtain additional funding for maintenance, pass building improvement millage and bond issues, evaluate the question of subcontracting, assist in labor negotiation, and improve efficiency in building operations. And this is a 23-page document of which I just encapsulated some of the ones that we have here tonight. Currently we have 3 full-time maintenance people. We have 1 on days, 2 on nights, 1 part-time during that's 2 hours during the day, 2 hours at night, and 1 that works 4 hours at night. Excuse me, that we're going to look at moving to full-time. So, all that said, if you go down the very bottom of this page, you'll see something else I thought was quite interesting. Cal and I discussed a little bit. That in the state of Michigan, in the year 2012-2013, 43.4% of the schools elected to do some sort of subcontracting. So, I'm not advocating that per se, and we don't have a history of that, and of course there's pros and cons to that, all different ways. But with the staff we currently have, I just want to talk a bit about the custodial and the skill trades that we have here at the school. So if you go to page 7 of 23, which is actually the 3rd page in this pamphlet, you'll see the instructional square foot per custodian FTE is at, for this last school year, was 35,247 square feet per custodian. That's a little bit high compared to, and I'll get into that just a little bit later, but that's a little bit high. 30,000 is about the average. If you use the Association of Physical Plant, they basically rate your maintenance activities into 5 buckets. So 5 buckets is if you go to a room and it's perfectly spotless when you leave. Class 5 is you do the garbage and you clean the room once a week. They strive for somewhere in the level 3 area. So level 3 is right around the 30,000. And if you look across this line, you'll see that 30,000 is pretty close to where we should be looking. So if you take the 150,000 square feet that we have in this building, and that's basically, I calculated that on the front page here, up in the corner. We have 150,000 square feet under roof, divided by 30,000, should be 5 maintenance people, 5 full-time custodial people that we should have. Like I just said, we have 3. And the 2 half-timers. So with the 2 half-timers, you don't always get a full FTE out of 2 half-timers. It's always just a little bit short of that because they're coming and they're going and they're doing things like that. So to make one of those persons will get us much closer to what the average should be. We'd still be a little bit under, but we get us much closer.
What will be the square footage once the new facility is complete?
And with the new facility, there'll be more things. There's more windows, there's more
The square footage would go about 15,000
Yeah, the square footage will go up because the
That's-
hallways are bigger. and-
Yeah.
So, there'll be more to do, I guess, as time goes on. Another thing that comes up a lot is the skilled you see this next bullet point asterisk I have on number 11, the instructional square feet per skilled trades or maintenance FTE. If you look at that for the 2012-2013 year, they actually used one full-time FTE for every 185,000 square feet of building space. So which would basically put us at about a 0.7, 0.8, somewhere in there, person. Now, if you go on to this study a bit farther, on the next page, you will see down at the bottom, I have a bulleted point where it says for school counts less than 1,000, basically, 25,840 is the midpoint, and we're using 30,000. So if you go back to where I said before you had your level buckets, you had the very top one at the spotless level. Those people are taking care of about 10,000 to 11,000 square feet per person per day. If you go to level 5, they're taking 85 to 90, and if you're in the middle where you should be, you're doing about 30,000. So they all come out about the same, 25 to 30,000 square feet per person per day is what we should be using per custodian. Going on to the next page, the skilled trades maintenance person. If you look for any schools in Michigan less than 1,000 student population, they don't have anyone. They basically don't have a dedicated person, which kind of falls in line with the page before, where you're at your 0.7, 0.8 FTE of skilled trades. So they don't even have them. They only start having them when you get up to the 1,000 to 3,000 student counts and above. If you go to the very bottom of that page, another thing you see is acres per grounds FTE. So that's a ground or a building maintenance person. And basically, for anything less than, again, 1,000 people or 1,000 students, they don't have anybody. So we do a little bit of grounds maintenance, we do a little bit of building maintenance, plus we do custodial, and it kind of helps split up the day a little bit. But if you just look at a custodial level, we're still at about a 1.5 person short right now from what we should be. So that said, I think that, I would hope that you would look at moving Gail from half-time to full-time going forward. So this is something that, this is just kind of a rationale what we used to determine
Is
staffing.
this for next year then already, what we have here? Because that already shows her being.
I put her in there as being full-time because I knew it was a possibility.
So you want worst case scenario, the most expensive case scenario.
So Larry's not.
Well, Larry's
But Larry's a
a bus driver as well.
bus driver.
So these are two areas.
And then, the Patty's all just cook?
Well, she's, normally during the school year, she's cook, but then during the summer and on days where there's no students here, she's custodial.
But she doesn't have anything under custodial.
I put her full year thing under being a cook. I put all her hours under the cook.
That doesn't mess with the budget for the kitchen and the maintenance then?
Well, and these were just, it will go when we do the budget, will go in there, but when I did this, I just put
Okay.
it all in one. This was just put together this afternoon, kind of quick.
To give you some perspective as well, I checked with some of the other districts in the area. Right now, we currently are cleaning rooms 2 times a night, 2 times a week, not 2 times a night, 2 times a week. Some of the other districts clean all the rooms every night. If you take, for instance, Southern Door, they have approximately 350,000 square feet under roof, and they run 3 full-time maintenance people during the day, plus Dan Bisbee, who does about half-time because he's kind of my role. He does the supervising of custodial, and he also does transportation. At night, they run 4 full-time custodians, plus another half-time FTE, or half equivalent.
And they're 350,000 square feet though, right?
350,000.
So 200,000
So
more.
they're just over double our size. So they have, 3 and 4 is 7. We're right now at 3, we're proposing to add another half to get us to about 4.
And are you looking at daytime or nighttime to add the full-time?
It'll be nighttime. Any questions?
Would there be, does Michigan Group do any updates, I know, or any, because this is a February 2014 study?
Right.
And data is good data, I mean, I'm curious if.
Yeah, and this is the closest, this is the most recent one I could find.
Got it, no, that's good, I didn't know if it would go up or down depending on the workforce, you know.
Yeah, no,
Cook the dishwasher.
Oh, the dishwasher, sure. We had a dishwasher resign recently, and she was working 3 hours a day washing dishes, only at lunch periods. And Casey and his staff are gonna just suck it up for the next month to get through the school year. My first recommendation would be to have full-time custodial. Or the other option would be to have Gail do dishes when students are here for 3 hours and then join the custodial, which would, on a school day with students here, with lunch being served, pick up an hour for Rock and would get him an extra 4 hours for his staff. But then on non-lunch days, he would have a full-time person. But my recommendation is to get him the person he needs. The other piece, since we're talking about maintenance custodial staff, is as we're moving forward with this building project, and Rock being at the point in his life he is, when we get the new addition and we have it tied in with the 91 and 65, and we have a ribbon cutting, and then a year or two after that, Rock decides to retire, I would like to have someone ready to take over his role. I keep pushing that farther back.
Good idea.
But I would like the person that comes, Rock's eventual replacement, to
Transition
know
time.
how this building was put together so they can figure out the mysteries that Rock has had to figure out about the 65, 24, 46 sections, and have someone on board, because Rock already has a full-time job as head of director of maintenance and transportation, and this building project is going to tax him more and more and more. I mean, he's scrambling now that we finally passed our referendum. We could start working on some projects in this building. He's doing that, and he's trying to figure out, we were talking about retention ponds for a half hour today, that ate up the rest of, ate up a half hour of his time, So I'm looking for that for the future here too, so we get someone on board so they know what we got, so that they can take over the reins someday and know why the building is connected and how the HVAC works and all that kind of stuff, and why it's all connected, and have a reason for it.
So when you say future, do you mean 1920 school year,
Or next
2021?
Yeah, I would say 1920, because we're going to break ground in April, and we're meeting with Bray every 2 weeks, and we're learning more and more every time. I'm learning lots, I know that about building.
I think, for what my input would be, actually two comments, is for the part-time aide, I think it's a good idea, because also the other thing, looking forward, and I personally think the staff does a good job with the school, but I think we'll need it, and I tell you what, our community is gonna wanna maintain that new building. And I'm not saying you're not, but we better make sure that brand new building stays really looking good for a lot of years. So that expectations of custodial staff, so on that item, for one of my comments are, I think it's probably reasonable, and your two assessments usually have been pretty sound for me. On the building thing, I absolutely tell you, because an additional set of eyes to work closely with Rock and then help Kyle where needed. Because remember, as a customer, if we have someone watching the builder more often, right? And so like if he can be learning from Rock, taking taskings from Rock, but then watching how the builder's building quality, that's how you miss it. Because if we don't miss it, who's our customer advocate? And I know the architect and the builder are supposed to do that. But I know, we all know if you bought something, if you're not on it all the time, not intentionally, but something might not be the quality that you miss. And then, after your warranty period, you find that, you're like, why didn't I catch that? So I advocate for that. I think it's very wise. And in fact, I think it's prudent to look out for the tax dollars we're investing. So we're buying a $20 million thing, and oh, by the way, Rock's got a full-time job. And what we've always done is, hey, Rock and Kyle, suck it up. And I respect that in your efforts. But anyways, I think it's a great idea. And it's important for the taxpayers' money and our quality of our system. And then, if you actually do retire, I guess, darn it.
Well, if I go by Kyle's number 7 years from now.
Yeah, I keep pushing it. Well, I'll give you an example from last week's quarter planning
He's
team
75
meeting,
years old.
when we talked about the electrical being in the science storage room between the two science rooms, and then the other electrical is in the 1965 parts in the back of the kitchen. So now, all of a sudden, we have to remove all the chemicals and supplies out of that science storage room, and we're gonna take a classroom, and Rock's gonna build a partial wall to keep the chemicals away, and then the equipment from the kitchen that we have to get out of the way so they can work back there is gonna have to go into place as well. And the cabinets and the plumbing and all that has to be capped off in the tile removed from the new electric room. That came on Rock's plate now all of a sudden, you know, okay, here you go, you've got another project and you're gonna be moving more furniture, and it just was
So
a
is 2020, I mean, what do you feel about that?
What do I feel about that?
Is that enough lead
You know,
time?
I've been spending many sleepless nights thinking about it. I don't want to leave too early, and then I don't want to leave too late either. And what I mean by that is I don't want to just say, take off and leave the district hanging. I don't want to do that. But by the same token, I don't want to work till I'm 70 years old. And I really think it's in the best interest of the district to bring someone on to learn all the various systems that are here and how they meld into the new construction. And I think there's some efficiencies to be gained from doing that.
And I would,
To give you a date here.
Right, no,
Well, Rock-
because I mean, there's a learning curve, obviously.
Yeah,
Now, when
yeah.
you came on board,
Yeah.
was there any transition, or did somebody leave and you came in?
Basically, when I came in, I had approximately 2 weeks.
I would say this.
Plenty of time.
I would say this, Rock.
I learned, it was a baptism by fire.
But
Yeah.
in fact, a lot of organizations have that training period and overlap, and a lot of organizations don't, right? I would argue it this way, is that I would say sooner, we need someone now. I mean, you got a ton of stuff going on, and I say this very confidently though, and this is why you two look at the budget, and that's not an intent to push you out. I mean, I could clearly write up a justification for under the building of this time, we are gonna have, who's gonna move the buses when the bulldozers are there? Then the kids are leaving for recess, but the bulldozer's over there. I mean, the workload, folks, to manage this is not, remember, that's my full-time job. I manage stuff, and my full-time job is managing construction and stuff, and a lot of times, I'm surprised. So I will try not to go on and on and on, but I could. So I think you sooner than later, but I would also say for this board, that doesn't mean you're gone in 6 months or anything. I'm saying I think we could easily justify throughout this process for, a couple this is the budget, not the numbers, but I would say, start thinking about it, and then training and and then throughout, just like you're learning with accounting, right? And our budget. The longer they're working with you, then you find about that one contract replaced the sewer system that didn't happen in the overlap, or the negotiation with the town because we got water issues out here. All those little things that crop up, that when the day comes that I'll say this, the tribal knowledge expert leaves, which happens everywhere, then everyone scrambles and there's a lot of pain because that expert is retired and very happy, but we've lost something. And because we have this $20 million investment,
$7 million project come on.
and that's also what I did in the military, is I looked out for budget for the taxpayer, so, okay, I'm sorry, I'm done. But think about it. Sooner than later, I would advise you.
Well, that's why we bring it to you tonight, because we're gonna start building the 1920 budget, and is that an item to put in or not, right?
Yeah, I think it has to go into 1920. I don't think we can wait and put it in the 2021 budget. I think we get into the budget and we
Right,
start,
the budget now.
and we start looking for the right person.
With,
The 2019.
stay as long as you want, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Starting
This
July
budget.
1, right?
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't signed a new contract yet that he got today, so.
He's probably been busy.
I gotta wait for my pen to stop.
I mean, it could take a while to find the just
Correct.
right fit.
Yeah, no,
And
and
it might-
that's true too.
And it
'cause it's-
doesn't need to be something that, we're talking about, we want to add it, but we can even discuss that, we put it into the budget, but maybe it isn't for September 1, it's, later into the year, because there's also that whole winter knowledge too that comes at, you don't want to, start them at a point where then there's nothing, that you want to give them all the seasons.
Yeah, probably the most stressful times are, of course, right when school starts. Because then you have the whole transportation piece on you know, and I'm assuming that the person that you have, that you eventually would hire, would be, you know, maintenance and transportation, same as I have. I mean, I'm just speculating.
That's what I'm assuming.
So,
Are you looking for a motion to add that halftime?
A full-time person.
Well, to bring the halftime to full.
Bring her to
Right, but I wanted to have this other discussion too, so that you saw the big picture as we're
Right.
planning for 1920.
Right.
Right, because it's kind of two things, but they dovetail together
Right.
because it's a whole department.
But
But
you're looking for action tonight.
action tonight on the
And-
custodial.
Increasing the halftime for full-time.
If we eventually go with this person for rock, that doesn't mean we don't need the custodian.
Well, we can do, she's about to make a
We
motion.
need the
I think let's
custodian
get that
period.
moving. Right.
Right, yeah, the custodian's gonna, the other person is gonna be Rock's apprentice and will do some maintenance and take some of their load off, but it's not gonna,
Do you have to have special certifications for some of the things you do? I'm not talking about bus driving, but anything else that you do? Chemical handling or?
in a lot of cases, yeah, it would be good.
Okay, because I'm saying that also would give time for this person, once they're vetted and you feel comfortable, like this is the person, then we can start investing in them doing those things too.
they would have to get their bus driver.
Right.
They would have to, water safety,
Well, yeah, you have to have, you know, some certifications and water quality and those kinds of things.
yeah, your
Wasco
asbestos.
also has a program together where they have numerous training sessions in HVAC, electrical, I mean, all the various building systems that are out there, and then you can become certified in those things, or you can get it at universities and those kinds of things. But they also offer that program over a course of time, you take credits, and then you can become certified in that. I've got some of them, I don't have all of them, but, you know, that might be something you want to look for in a potential candidate.
Well, and the other thing too, two things in Sue's point is, that would be another thing that in this overlap period, get them all the training that our person should have.
That's
And we're gonna hire
right.
someone who has more than 3 years left, right, that I would recommend. So, and back to Sue's point, can we make a motion, do we wanna make a motion for 1.5 people? With the caveat that you guys look at, so give the approval, but then you guys chew on when that fits in, or should you do them separate?
For tonight, I would work on just the custodial staff, and then the second piece for the apprentice portion of someday being the
We've got
next.
some time.
I would think
Future,
we'd talk about that in May and
Yeah.
June, yes,
I
yes.
would move to increase the current halftime custodial person to full-time.
A second.
Further questions or discussion on that item?
And when would the start date be on that?
I would do it immediately because we're gonna wrap up the school year here, and then we're going to have our big summer projects, and
And this was a conversation I already had with this person, that they're
Yeah.
wanting to do this?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And there's a lot of things that are gonna happen day one after the kids are out of bed.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor, any other,
Oh, sorry.
any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Great.
Thank you.
Any other, do we have anything else for Rob here? Okay, board goals 2019, 2020.
well, that's where, before we start building
Thank
next
you,
year's,
Rob.
Yeah, thank you.
before we build next year's budget, I thought we'd review this year's goals. Did I send one for Carl too? Good. And then I didn't know, as we build the budget, we need to know what kind of goals we have here, so I just distributed last year's goals. We are working on strategic planning, and we went with the CISA 7 model. We had to slow that up a little bit because that was pretty heavy on our staff, but it's still moving forward. Goal 2 was the CFAC referendum, so I think we accomplished that. Weighted grades will come to you next week. School safety has greatly improved, and Door County Emergency Services should get some credit for that, and Rock should as well. AP courses, I think we still need some studying on that one. Gifted and talented, Melissa Margraf will work on for next year. Technology 1-to-1, we have the high schoolers now for 3 grades that start in January, and next year will be 4 grades. Tech Ed, assist with developing business partnerships. I think Mr. Sanborn knows we're fully behind him, and with the new Fab Lab coming in, the donations we've received, I think we're doing pretty well there. Lunch program, we've had a few meetings. I think we got to still work on menu development and getting the kids more involved. In staff retention, we'll see how many stay. That's just, I don't know.
Does the wellness committee move it, is that in?
Wellness committee is meeting with Carl and I on Friday, and with the Prevea 360, they have the new insurance. There's a wellness component to them. Surgeon Bay used, what was it? Move 365, I don't know, but they just switched to Fit Life. They're just switching, so, and they had their Purveyor meeting, so we'll meet with Purveyor as well, but wellness is gonna start working on that.
I have taken or gotten the wellness committee much more involved in the things that are available through the insurance company and M3, so that they can take the ball and run with it. I handle the insurance part of it, getting the insurance and all that. I'm letting them take care of all the extra stuff that comes with it, the wellness stuff, the program stuff. They're happy to do it, they're interested in it, and they have more time to do it than I do, you know, and it's not something that I really want to take on, and they're more willing to do it, so.
And that's the physical part, right?
Right.
The financial part, we've had, well, on the 22nd of May, we have Number Benefits coming to speak about your WRS statement, how to read that. We've had folks come talk about retirement savings, student loan forgiveness, planning your will and power of attorney. Not all exciting topics, but we've had them available for staff. It's necessary, right, yeah. So we've had a variety throughout the year of speakers come in, and we tried to use different, we had Thrivent, WA Number Benefits, Horace Mann. So we haven't gone with just one vendor coming in, because we don't want it to be
Favoring somebody.
right, we don't want to favor anyone, so we've been opening our doors to different ones to come in. So, and every couple months we have someone come in, so that's been helpful. I think the WRS one on the 22nd, I bet it's a full house here.
Well, that one I'm very interested in going to, because so I can read the statements, because they're coming to me and say my statement's not right. Well, why is it not right? So I need to know how to understand how to learn, read the statements to see if they're right, and then how do we fix it, But when WEA was here, we had about 7 or 8 people that actually signed up, additional people signed up to do money both pre-tax and post-tax. So that was, and other ones that were interested, I don't know if they haven't done anything with it yet, but they showed some interest.
And in October or November, we're going to have, help me out with, what can you sign up for in December? Do you have to sign up by December?
Oh, it's FSA, it's flex
Yes.
spending account, where you can set money aside.
Or an HSA?
No,
No.
HSA is totally different. An HSA, a health spending account, or health savings account, you can keep the money, you don't lose it. Where a flex spending account, you set aside money, and if you don't use it, you lose it.
Do you offer an option for an HSA?
No. It's something to do with, you can't have both. You can't have an FSA and an HSA.
But you have to have a qualifying plan to have.
You have to have one or the other.
In FSA, you can have daycare on there. So if we have some younger teachers that have young children, they can, if you want to do just short of what you're going to use. You don't want to lose your money, so you want to do just under. But some of our young staff can sign up to pay their daycare, and if they sit down and figure out what their yearly expense of daycare is, they can have some tax savings. Currently, I'll tell you, we only have one staff member that's taking advantage of that, and so we got some folks that can get more dollars in their pocketbooks and save on the tax
And
part.
why is that, Fred? Why is it that we only have one?
They're unknown about it, they don't understand.
Well, they don't understand it, and we had the insurance company or the program people come in and explain, and now kind of word of mouth is getting out there. The one staff member that is using the daycare, she has been willing to, when we have this sign up come again, to explain or to show the benefits that she's, so, because not peer pressure, but peer knowledge is better than just an interpretation, coming in. So it's a matter, and when we had that meeting, we had 4 or 5 additional people get signed up for that program, not the daycare, but the medical part of it. So it's gotten more,
It's budgeted.
yeah.
You can even use it for things like contact solutions.
Oh, exactly.
Right, yeah, oh yeah, you can buy,
Your prescription.
there's some items you can buy without a doctor's note, there's other items you need to have with a doctor's note, but I just look at our young teachers that have young kids and go, boy, if you could save some of your dollars in daycare, because that's a known cost you're gonna have and get it. Because you have to enroll at a certain time of year
Yeah.
for the calendar year.
Right, it's that you have to enroll in November because it's January to December. And there's no, unless you're a new employee, you can get into it, but otherwise it's.
How much can you roll over? I mean, there's rules like that, is that right? You can only.
You
can't roll over.
So everything's got to be
Not
stacked.
Yeah, so you wanna put in less than you're gonna actually,
Yeah, use it or lose it.
Right.
so you wanna put in just a
And
little
if
bit.
You're going to the dentist 2 times a year, you know what that costs. You
Yep.
think
No,
you're gonna get new
I
glasses,
think
you
it's
know
great,
what
saving
that
30%
costs.
off the top, yeah.
And the money that they lose comes back to the district because it costs us to have the program. We have to pay a monthly fee. So people that don't use it, it comes back to the district to kind of offset that.
Okay.
I don't know how much each person's taking out of their check because I have to send it in each one, but what they're spending, I have no idea. That's none of,
Do they submit their submittal?
they submit it right through the company.
Oh, it doesn't even come to you?
It doesn't even come to me.
Because they can submit that anytime throughout the year, right?
Yep.
That's
So
it.
some good wellness things are happening.
Is the annual staff survey completed now?
I think they have until May 10th to complete
I don't know
it.
what day it closes. I know a second reminder email went out. I know the first day quite a few did it, and then they did at least one reminder.
We got the reminder.
Yeah.
Emailed it, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I don't remember what day it
Going-
closes.
Going to that develop positive culture,
Yes.
should we survey our students and our parents?
What I was going to
Well-
recommend,
Well, first off, it's not, the goal was staff retention, so that when,
And developing a positive culture, we have to have the students and the parents bought into that to get a positive culture.
but that would be a different goal, because it was staff retention was the goal.
Okay.
So that's be the positive culture for the staff. So if you're interested in students, that'd be the goal for
Okay, a
1920.
different goal.
Right, but we do have the survey coming up in May for the class of 2019. So that's a start, but you want to, what you said was you want to survey current students. Think about how systematically you want to do that. Are you picking which grades or
What
how
are
what are
we
you
surveying,
thinking?
what are we surveying the class of 2019 on?
Oh,
remember.
it was about 30, 40 questions
Yeah.
long.
With school
Yes.
perceptions?
Yeah, it was with school perceptions. It was their general one. I don't think we
And what
changed
about
it.
our previous friends? We said we wanted to try to work on.
They will start with this class. They said it's too hard to track down folks that are gone. They said you'll get a poor return.
I don't remember those questions. Did some of those deal with the culture within the school and?
Yeah, it talks all
Yeah, I
about their
think so.
experience here. Yes, it's all about their high school experience.
I-
They said with the class of 2019, they'll follow up in 18 months, and that's the best way of doing it because then they've tried to capture previous classes without starting. That the success rate is not.
So so I think you answered it for me, but, so they're gonna keep with these kids, they're gonna take these current students and then a year and a half from now, they're gonna survey them again.
Yes,
Good.
and then,
Okay,
and then
great.
next spring, I
Yeah.
think just like this is the third year for the staff survey, then we'll do the class at 2020, and then they'll get it 18 months later, and we'll just keep going at that rate. But what I heard Lisa say was surveying current students.
yeah, so talking new goals, that's what my notes would be, is I would recommend, because every grade is a different culture, right? So I would recommend all the student body, we'd have to look at the cost, and then the trends that you're looking for, right? Because you gotta take everything with a grain of salt, because if you get a kid who's pissed that one day, he's gonna fit all stuff, we get that, right? But the trends is what we're looking for. Because we have theories and stuff, but I'd like to find out, are the teachers, personal views brought into classrooms or not? Are the teachers fair in every class or not? What's the bullying culture in this school? What we think it is and what the reality is might be two very different perceptions. And this is where we, with help from someone like School Perceptions, start acting that. And that would be credible data that this, more importantly, admin team could look at is, do we need additional training? Is there any curriculum that we should roll in? We got a new SRO coming in, so if we had something like some bullying concern, he could roll it in the curriculum. I think there's some curriculums I heard on bullying in the school already. So, but we need the data, and I think it'd be a wise investment if we come back and say, oh, things are perfect. I'm pretty sure that wouldn't be the case, but no school is, by the way. But I think that's worth looking at, that cost investment to find out where we're at. And because if you talk to Adam, his bullying is very, very high in his priority. He talks to me about it all the time. So let's give him some data to find out if he's really on track, or if we need to get some more resources to help with that. Or, in our staff, we're in a public school. We got another election coming, right? And they can do whatever they want outside of school, but inside the school, they're teachers, and they stay to their curriculum. So those are just some examples of things that we could survey and find out. And it would come in and would be evaluated by mainly the admin team. And what you do with that, there's still, a lot of thinking would be involved. There's no, just like any other survey we've done, it doesn't mean anything.
And Dave, when you said all students, then I think of a survey, young elementary, middle school.
Okay,
high school.
let me clarify, high school. I'm sorry, freshman, sophomore, junior.
Okay, because when you said all students, I'm like, well, I'm going to ask fourth graders a lot different questions.
Very good. Thank you for
Do you like school? Yeah, because we have recess today.
Yeah,
exactly.
I would
You know what I
target
mean?
high school. Because the other thing, if we think there's a cultural problem, surveying as the seniors too. They're gone.
Well, yeah, except for after a couple of years, because we will see it the same.
The
You'll see
trend
patterns
will
after a
come
while,
that way
right?
too.
Exactly. What you're saying is we did the survey now, but current we'd get a snapshot of today, whereas now, 18 months from now, next year, 18 months from then, you'll get.
And does every
different-
senior class evaluate it most likely on their maybe junior, senior year? What about freshman and sophomore? Freshman year is tough for kids. They're new in there. How's that going? So that's why I would argue that at least initially, freshmen through seniors, see what comes of it. Very quickly, we may find, we're wasting money. Well then, but
Or even like a sophomore, senior, because then they've gotten through that first year.
depending on when we did the survey, that would
Right,
make a
right.
difference. I see, so.
So,
And if it goes by cost
cost-wise,
by
too.
student head, because I'm but here's the other thing, if we really care about the culture of school, because I hear that a lot, I do. I'm saying this because I hear people in this community, in admin roles and stuff, saying they care a lot. Well, how do we transition, how do we prepare our kids for freshman year? You could go on and on and on, I get that, but, I don't think these surveys have been all that expensive. And a lot of organizations do survey all their staff and employees and see what happens,
Yeah, with like state testing, you get your fourth grade test scores, and then next year you get the fourth grade, so what's a different set of kids? It'd be interesting if you had like, I don't know, maybe I would do it 8th grade, sophomore, senior, or I do it seniors, so you hit a couple snapshots, and then you have the class of 2024, and you'd have their data from 2022 and 2020, and then you could see, how was your whole experience? And each class does have its own flavor to it. I've had classes I've really liked and others that I've struggled with,
And once they get into being in high school, they're blended. Especially by sophomore year, they're not in class with just sophomores. So then you are going to get a cross category. I think that I like the 8th grade too, 8th sophomore, senior. But I think if you're going to do parents, then you do all parents.
For me, I was focusing more on kids, I guess, because we can't change parents. I don't know. What I'm encouraging is looking into the things this group can change. We can change the school culture. We can change behaviors at school of staff members and, by prioritizing things. And then if we find out the kids really need more help in an area, we could change a resource, like, well, actually the mental health that you guys put together. That took a lot of energy, but that's helping our staff, our kids. So that's why, if we survey parents, I guess if they would, if they're not getting communicated enough, I guess that's the issue. I'm looking more for action plans, Would this feed data into us and the admin team, that there could be action plans to actually do something?
And I just want to, I appreciate your comments. I just want to caution us as a board though about, because we just put a ton of time into strategic planning and the development of action teams. And those action teams are doing some of the goals that came as a result of our strategic planning, developing goals around improving the culture, anti-bullying campaigns. I mean, I'm just concerned that we don't want to go too, I would recommend that we wait to hear back from Jason, is that his name? Aaron, around the results of the strategic planning and the actual action groups that are being set up. Because we could be going down a road around creating a board goal around those things, Dave. And here we got internal action committees that are already working on some of that.
But this survey could help those
Well,
committees.
Two things.
This survey would, maybe we should have done this a long time ago.
We need to integrate them.
Exactly,
That's
that's my point.
The thing I would say, to maybe where you're going is, this first action of the survey would gather some data from our current student body. No action plans, that would feed to the strategic planning group to help them assess that, hey, if I'm doing let's say one of the strategic plans was to do anti-bullying. Well, they might find that there's some good data in this collection to say, hey, if we did a curriculum in freshman year and nipped it in the bud freshman year, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, we might not have to worry about it. So I think I agree with the integration for sure. Absolutely key. I don't think the survey itself, I think it would supplement it, but I agree with your point. We don't want to take separate action from the strategic standing.
Well, and I think first we have a survey coming up there of our graduating class of 2019. We should get that data back first and analyze it and see what that tells us. That's going to give us a snapshot. And then maybe if we think more surveying is necessary, go from there. But let's see what we get from our 2019 graduates first.
And the staff.
Yeah, well, staff, well, 3 years of surveys are from them,
Yeah.
absolutely, right.
I agree with that, but I think sometime down the road, we should be surveying more of the students.
So in my past, when I...
Not now, but sometime in the next
To
year.
Kyle's point, once you are used to surveying, and a kid fills out a survey not for the first time, maybe the second or he's on his third survey, he or she will understand that more, and they will probably bring more credible comments. Because the first survey, they're like, well, this is a joke, who's going to do this? Well, if they see it for the third time, let's say that's why, the long-term vision and rolling in with the strategic roadmap.
They'll take it serious if they see change
I was
occurs
just gonna say.
because of it.
If you
Because I
survey
think-
someone and they don't
If
see the
you-
benefit or the change.
If nothing ever changes, they'll say, okay.
Because our staff,
I
I
did
think,
make
has
that
seen us.
assumption that my grade had been...
Well, technology was really a poor area on the survey last year. I'm betting it's one of our higher areas this year.
But I think there's many
Steve,
things that
I'm
we
not
responded
saying
to from that survey and they saw that, so now they're like, oh, and you said right away, some people answered it. So those,
Right.
if we do like an 8th grade, sophomore, senior, those 8th graders, they're gonna see as they progress through, oh, some of these things were implemented or,
Some of them might even realize that they were whining before, and now they've grown up and they're like, oh yeah, okay, then I get it.
Well, but I think is one thing is like when you take the survey, it kind of opens your eyes at things that are there and it makes you maybe look at things a little bit differently. I know when I've taken some different surveys, it's like you didn't think about some of the things in that way and you look at them a little bit differently and it's like, oh, okay, maybe that's a different way to view things or view it from a different point, or it makes you think about things in a different way or think about things in general that you hadn't really thought about before, just because it kind of brings it to the surface here.
Has there been any ripple, Kyle, around the staff retention and the fact that we're doing another survey?
Has there been what?
A ripple, like,
I haven't
I don't
heard
really
any.
want to do it, or?
No, all I got from school perceptions is the first day, hey, you're off to a great start. So I can't remember how many did it the first day, like 26 people. They said that's a good start. So, okay. And school perceptions, well, the survey results I've seen with the referendum, you know, they said 60% would support some sort of referendum. 61.8 voted yes. They said 69 would do the operating cost one. It was right at 69%. So I think they're pretty accurate. So the staff ones, I can't say for the first year, but I thought that's kind of what I saw in the building too.
I think this is the third year.
This will be the third year, right? The first year I read them and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of stuff there, but I was still putting names to faces still. Whereas last year, I was like, okay, I see what you're talking about, so, yeah.
Surveys bring out the quiet people too. Not everybody's like me. Surveys will bring a quieter person's comment to the forefront.
It's a safe format.
All right, yeah. Okay, so I'm hearing we may want to do more surveys for students, but we're gonna get the survey for the 2019 class back first and look at that and move forward.
I'm interested to know what our students are thinking about their experience here.
Well, and I'd like to know from school perceptions how much they've done active students.
Right.
And I don't know another company out there, and with,
Yeah, whether they actually do that, do they?
I don't know, I'm gonna have to ask, but I do also know that school perceptions, I'm comfortable going with them if they do it because of their past
Yeah, I mean,
success.
we've been very
Right,
active with them.
Right, yeah, there's no, I don't think there's any reason to shop around, but I don't know if they do current students or not, but we can find
Well,
out.
they're the experts. I mean, they'll tell us if it's worth it.
Well,
Or
and
not.
quite frankly, you could write a survey with not too much. We used to write them in AFET all the time. You write surveys, you look at your core body, what you're doing. I mean, that's what they do. They write surveys. I'd be surprised if they would tell you no.
Yeah,
You know, because we're real focused on our staff. Now I'm interested in the parent-student experience. And do they do parent surveys and what do they, you know, what do parents think about what's going on here? You know, we hear great and we hear complaints about certain areas, and what would that look like in a survey? Would that help us with our student experience? I'm just,
Usually there's some low-hanging fruit that you could pick up, you know, like a better bulletin or a better website, or, you know, those are some little things that the tech guy could work on or something. Well, so a couple things for my own education in this discussion. We were looking at the board goals from before and progress on them, then we kind of jumped into a new one for next year, so sorry to get it. Where should we be focusing? Summarizing our old ones or new ones or all the above?
all the above, because if any of the goals would have costs associated when we're building the budget, Carl and I need to know. So if I hear that there's possible surveys, I might contact school perception and say, well, what costs would be associated with doing not just our seniors at the end of every year, but also our sophomores and eighth graders, you know, I've found out more research on that.
So like the technology, I mean, if we just.
Technology, I'm assuming we're gonna continue going one-to-one, and we're adding ninth graders next year. Are we interested in going down to middle school?
Well, the one thing I was gonna add, and maybe to talk, is the one out, first of all, I think recognizing that so far the goal for Technology 101 has been very good, I think. But adding to that for next year, do we wanna continue with opportunities for staff for either for money, for training or applications to bring into their classroom? Because I know some staffs have been looking at it, but talking our budget, that's what I was gonna, that's a follow-on, right? Because there was still some, you know, the training and helping our staff to better integrate technology right into their curriculum versus it's a tool that we use once in a while. And some are doing great, by the way, I think, but maybe others could benefit from something like that. And I only do that if in the budget planning, do you put a line in there? People agree with that?
Professional development, yes.
Oh, that, if it's covered there, then that's good. I was wondering.
There will be some expenses with strategic plan, I would think.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Does Melissa need anything for the gifted and talented research
Yeah,
she's
that's
doing?
There's that budget.
I can talk to Melissa about her plans, and she can maybe give a report next week if she has something for us.
I'm just thinking that
Right,
would be
right,
larger budget.
because that's the direction we're moving.
So the lunch program would maintain, I think your comment was we would maintain that as a goal.
We gotta keep working on that, that will be never ending, because our kids will always eat, so we should always try to make
Well, and
our way out better.
was looking at this on here and then looking at the numbers on the budget. You commented, we haven't spent a whole lot on food as far as that number, so that means we have room to improve the quality of the offerings. I think in turn will improve the quality of, quantity of the participation. It looks like our adult numbers are up, something worth looking into.
Yeah, the food, you know how complicated it is with
I
the commodities and
understand.
everything else too. So, yeah, that's, you know,
We had that explained to us.
Yeah.
right, commodity, you know,
Okay,
yeah.
it took Carl 4 workshops to find, it's gonna take you and I a few
Yeah,
more
yeah.
of those conversations, Jake.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would be concerned about that mental health area. Hopefully, we will get that grant, but there's no assurance that we will. And I think we've started some good things this year, and I know Adam feels that this is making an impact on our students. If anything, we could use more time than what we have now, so I would hate to lose what we have now.
yeah, and the difficult part with the mental health grant is it's a 5-school district grant. So if the grant would fail, how do you say to the other 4 districts, are you in for a portion? I mean, but we could ask,
Right.
but you gotta get buy-in from
Right.
any partners you have.
Or do we go it alone? That's another option.
Well, I would hope they would see benefit in doing it.
I would hope so
There's
too,
a lot of
but
energy around the consortium.
there is, but other districts have different financial situations than us.
Right.
And you heard Rock talk about a district maybe cutting some spots, ooh, boy. Then how do you say, please add your portion of this?
Right.
You know, that's,
I know
Well-
they're looking at other grant opportunities too, I just am in the process of helping them write another one. So I mean, I think they're very invested, but you're right, if they have budget cuts, because the new kid on the block, I mean, a new budget item on the block, it may get cut.
yeah, push come to shove, that's exactly right. But
Yeah.
we'd love all the bells and whistles for our kids, but at the end of the day, you can't, you know, so, yeah, it's tough.
What was the second?
So strategic planning stays on, referendum drops off, weighted grades is remaining on.
So, come back to, well, and even then, we're gonna review it, well, yeah.
Is school safe, I mean, is there additional work to do with school safety?
School
Does that
safety,
remain?
school safety, I don't think needs to be a board goal, because that is gonna be forever project as well. That is-
Yeah, I had wrote ongoing, right?
Yeah, that is never, so I'm very comfortable where we are now, but we're gonna continue to work on it. Melissa Margraff's working with a representative from each school district and
And we have an SRO.
Sergeant Albertson. Yeah, for the reunification, we have an SRO coming on board, so that's just ongoing. That's, when we pick our security cameras and systems for the new school, that's all school safety related. That's just a way of
Take
life.
that one off.
I would say it's not a goal anymore because it's just a way of life.
Because
That's
we can only
all.
have so many goals, you can't do too much at it, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, realistically.
Do we keep AP courses on because you
I
feel
think-
there's more work to be done there?
There is, especially with the cap offerings and our staff that will need masters by 2022 to teach those.
So now it went to 2022, wasn't it 2020 originally?
I think it's 2022, maybe I misspoke, but,
Which is great, I mean, that buys us some time because.
well, I think they have to get enrolled and have a, because they can't expect everyone to,
They can't get them by
Right.
you can't get your masters by,
No.
yeah, so I think they've,
Gifted and talented?
I think we need to keep that
Keep
because that's
that, yeah.
really haven't developed yet.
Is the technology now, is that just an ongoing?
I think that's ongoing. They have the technology community that keeps meeting and they'll bring recommendations forward. And like I said, we keep moving that to lower grades, because next year will be 9-12 from 9/11 to 9/12, and middle school would be the next logical, if we're gonna go 1-to-1 or whatever the choice is of the district.
In thinking of this and then going backwards to our surveys, is the survey already gone to the 2019 students?
No, they're gonna do it as a group here in the May.
And the survey questions are already set?
Mhm.
Okay. Because one of the things and I haven't read all the questions specifically, but, you know, as far as course offerings and things like that, it would be neat to know, you know, that would kind of tie into this. What would the kids have liked to have had as options for courses and things like that?
Then they have a sample survey sent to the board.
I didn't read it, every single line because it was big.
Yeah, it's long.
But thinking of it, that in terms of this now is what brought that to mind.
Tech ed.
I think Tech Ed's moving, the new addition, the Fab Lab, and the
Moving?
money had donated.
Do you want to keep that on there, or?
I think that's just the way of life and not as well. I think that we're waiting for the building. Actually, Mr. Sanborn's ordered some materials already and getting them in the current shop and moving some items out. Yeah, he's only got limited space right now.
Yeah.
Lunch program is remaining on.
Mhm.
Is staff retention, does staff retention now become an ongoing? Is that just something that or does it remain on?
I think that's always a goal.
So we got rid of 3.
And added student culture? Is that what you're gonna call it?
I don't know what we call it, student experience. I don't know if we call it student culture, student experience.
And I don't even know if we'd call it staff retention, because it's like, we want to keep them, but we also want to, you know, wellness and all that. I mean, it's kind of culture, staff culture, student culture, and almost, you know, of course we want to keep them, but we want to, you know that it's a good working
So I think you
environment.
said school culture. I see
Student-
two groups and student and staff. Yeah, they're together, but they're separate entities.
Yeah,
right?
staff culture, student culture.
And we're adding mental health? Or is that ongoing?
Well, it may or may not be depending on the funding.
Well, it'll always have to be, it's just we have to figure out how it's funded.
We'll have to be, we'll just have to work with our neighbors and if they, we'll see how the grant turns out, what the roll of the punches on that one, right?
And I think we have a long ways to go. I think we've just started with it, but we've got a long ways to go.
I think we could use more support here. I've heard other superintendents say that they wish they had more support in their school districts as well, but at least we're starting
And
at the tip of the iceberg.
Staff development area.
For what it's worth, I think maybe it's a goal. I say we put it up there to give it some visibility and it's on our radar. Doesn't mean we put a ton of budget against it, but
Right.
when we find out what the grant situation is, we may need to revisit that. And as we learn more in school, because I don't fully have my hands around it, but I guess I don't want to give too many goals because then we can't go after them. So are we already there?
I think so.
We have quite a few,
Must be
yeah.
thinking of other
I think
ones.
we have enough things to work on,
Mhm.
and that's good.
So the goals then are to continue with the building of the strategic plan, analyzing the philosophy on weighted grades, which will probably drop off in a week or two. Continue the work on the AP courses, the gifted and talented program, the lunch program, and staff and student culture retention, or whatever that one's going to be titled, and mental health.
Okay.
We're gonna combine the staff and student culture, you're saying?
I don't know. I heard conversation about that over,
I think I might offer they're separate. They're two different perspectives. One is, you know, the healthcare wellness
Two
of our
different
staff,
surveys.
cooperation with our staff, what the superintendent's doing, and then versus the students. I don't know what the difference is, one goal or two goals, so I don't care how we package it.
Either it's one goal and you have 2 bullet points, or you
Yes,
have
sir,
2
so,
goals,
I
right?
can name the baby however you
Say
want.
one,
Well, I think maybe come back with a draft and
Yeah, sure.
have another go at it.
So we'll wait, it's got a good framework. We
Yeah.
have that refined and get those again.
2019-20. Anybody, anything else on board goals? Then we'll move to 19-20 budget.
Carl handed out a bunch of sheets of staff benefits and salaries, and Carl, you will walk them through.
If you look at the one with the title of the 2018-19, if you look on page 2, that was the total, and when I say benefits, it's, or expenses, salary, FICA, WRS, health, dental, long-term disability, life insurance, what the district had to pay. It does not include what the staff member had to pay, but just the first total you have there, the 4.3 million, that is just teachers itself. Okay? And then the one below that is administrative. So this is salary people only. If you look on the 1920 page, and you go to page 2, that is what we're prospected to spend for the same things. Now, if you notice, all of the benefits are the same, except we added vision. Reason being, with the new insurance we have, with the old insurance, you got one eye exam per year, covered under your health insurance. With the new health plan, it's not, that is no longer available. So for what we saved in the health plan and added vision, it's not even close. I mean, the total division part there that you see, that 171, that's a yearly cost to the district per person. So what we're spending on just the teaching staff is going to go down almost $1 million. And we're saving 15%, we had a 15% decrease in what our insurance is costing us this year compared to last year. Had we stayed with the same company, it was gonna go up 10%.
It's not $1 million, it's $100,000.
$100 million?
I thought, man. it's
Yeah,
$100
$100,000.
million.
You got my attention, I'm looking through, I'm like, what?
Where'd that number come from?
You're right, 100,000.
You just moved to zero, that's.
We're saving $100,000. If you look on page 3 of 1920, the administrative rate actually went up about $4,000. Overall, the total spent on that, I did not give you. So the total amount we're looking at spending on salary, personnel, benefits, and salary is 5.2 million for 1920. And then I did not do the other sheet.
No, it's about the same.
It's close.
That's a little less than, if you add those two figures up.
Then the other sheet that I gave you that start, the first one is aides, that is your hourly personnel, broken down by the different groups. I did not have anything to compare it with last year because I put this together today, but we're looking at spending 1.63 million for 2019-20. So that's pretty much covers the bulk of our wages and benefits is what will, so the whatever that is, the 5.2 million into 1.63, so we're looking at it's, just under 7 million for staff benefits and salary. Now, this does not include, for instance, bus drivers does not include any extra trips, because you just don't know how many exactly you're gonna have. This does not include substitute teachers. This is just strictly staff and their general wage, or their main wages that they're gonna have. It doesn't include any extra workers for officials or anything like that.
Questions for Carl on that, on those?
And as you see, well, with the
Comments, Mr.
No,
McGee?
just switching insurance was huge for us. And the nice part is with the prepay at 360, if the cooperative is happy with their services and votes to continue at prepay at 360, we can renew 4 more times for a total of 5 years. And each of the next 2 years is a 0% increase. And the 4th year would be 2.9% increase, and the 5th year would be a 3.9% increase. But the luxury we have is if the service is unsatisfactory, we can go back out to bid. So,
And also the prices on the vision is guaranteed 4 years.
yeah, revisions 4 years.
So we're locked in at that price, but yet what we had was gonna go up 10%. So this is
Yeah.
actually cheaper, plus, oh wow, good
Well,
job.
let's hope it works out.
Yeah, exactly.
The only,
Well, I think
I mean,
their
because-
incentive to do good.
Rather than changing every year, which I think
Yeah.
is sort
Well,
of
and that's-
stressful for the,
Tell about the
people.
teacher from Kiwanee that moved to Sturgeon Bay and,
oh, my niece.
you know,
She taught at Kiwanee, for the last 7 years, she should be between Kiwanee and Sturgeon Bay. She's changed insurance every year in 7 years, and she's had, the last 2 years, she said it was the first time in 7 years she's had the same insurance company 2 years in a row. And again, you know, and that was when we were looking at, because when it all came down, we were looking at having to, well, we were gonna be with the one that the majority voted with, and we were gonna be right back where we were next year, having to go out to bid, or, you know, depending upon what their increase was gonna be. And the most appealing part was their guarantee us a rate for 5 years. So for 5 years, we have the opportunity to stay with the same insurance company. Now, there are some staff members that are not real happy about it because because we're losing Bell. First we lost Aurora, now we're losing Bell. But when I discussed that with some woman, I said, you were looking at being able to, you know, first of all, your insurance is going to take a drastic reduction in what you're gonna have to pay, and we can keep the same for 5 years. They're like, oh. You know, so it's kind of about weighing some like, I'm gonna have to find another doctor or go to PPO. What I've said to some of them, it's like, we can't please everybody.
Right, you have to do what's best.
You know, we have to do what's best for all and best for the district, and we thought this was the best move for the district in the whole and the long-term future.
Happens in the private sector all the
Well,
time.
exactly. And the fact that we got a 5-year deal, it's like, and I just don't
we
see.
don't go broke.
Well, I just don't see Prevaited 360
They're not.
not giving good service. I just don't see that. I mean, it could happen, but,
we will find out.
We will find out.
Right, but I think it's, yeah,
you
obviously.
know, and then I had one person I talked to the other day, she's like, well, now we're just at Door County Memorial, and I said, we were just at, if you look local, we had basically the same thing we had before. Instead of being able to use the Bellman Clinic, now use the Way Clinic on the other side, right out on the highway, and you still have Door County Memorial. Instead of using Bellin, now you have, if you want to stay HMO, you gotta use St. Vincent's. I've been hearing a lot of things bad about Bellin lately. So, I don't know.
Aaron
It's
Rodgers
just-
uses Purveyor, so it's gotta be good.
What's that?
Aaron Rodgers uses Purveyor.
Well, there you
Oh, well, there you
If Aaron
go.
Rodgers says that's good.
Well, I will tell you, I've been with Purveyor Docs for years, and so has my husband, and he's had open heart surgery, he's had hip replacements, the whole bit. We have no complaints about any of the Purveyor Docs or the healthcare staff.
Yes.
We've both been at St. Vincent's and St. Mary's, and we've been extremely pleased.
Yeah. And if we would've went with the other company, we would've been only 1 year deal, and that was what, a 4% increase?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a significant comment that we have covered everyone's raise this year, and our budget is still going down. And I do believe what your comments is that it's still gonna have good care. That's awesome, good work.
Is there anything else on the budget?
No, because that's the majority,
That's
it's
the
pretty much.
80% of it.
That's the majority, and now we got some other direction, and now we have enough
Yeah.
direction that we're good.
So our regular meeting is May 16th.
Next week.
Remind everybody about the graduations at that meeting. Is there a staff teacher breakfast then?
Oh,
Staff
Friday
appreciation?
morning, staff breakfast, 7:15 right here, so you're all welcome to come.
This right?
This
In the
Friday.
cafeteria though.
No, it's in here, because the students are eating there, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm really sure, that I'm not, now you got me guessing
Well, no,
myself.
I just in the past we were in the cafeterias.
And I think,
Because I don't think
We were
that
here
gets,
last year.
because I
I
don't
think
think,
we were here last year.
Yeah.
2 years ago we were.
Okay.
because I don't think that gets set up until
It's this Friday, it's Teacher Appreciation Week this week, and so there's something for the staff every day.
Everything, yeah.
Today PTO had lunch for them, Subway lunch, and
Yay.
Friday will be Casey's crew cooking breakfast, so yeah. Mhm.
So 7:15, okay.
7:15, yeah.
If there's nothing else, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.